What's happening, YouTube? So, this video, it's more just like a venting video, and I just happen to be posting it. But let's talk about today. Um, where do we even start? So, coming into the day, I had an account that was at it was a 25K account. I was up to like 25,800, 25,900, somewhere right in there. I had three trades coming in. Um, First trade, I got into it. I didn't really like where I had my stop loss at, and I didn't want to adjust it to assume more risk. So I went ahead and got out of it. I just got out of it when it was positive. So maybe like 30, $40. No big deal. Quickly correcting my mistake. Second trade and third trade, same thing happened. I usually do 250 for the risk, 500 for the 1 to 2. And so second and third trade, same exact things happened. Everything started going my way, trading with momentum, and it got about halfway to TP. Actually, the third trade almost hit TP. I want to say I got like 3/4, like more than 3/4 of the way. But then, so with it getting that far out, I went ahead and moved my stop loss up a little bit to where I was at least in the positive. And what do you know? It comes all the way back and hits my stop loss. For those of you that have been following for a little bit, I mentioned in a couple videos that usually my stop loss is too close and too tight. So I get wicked out of a good bit of trades because of that. So I tried to be lenient today, give it a chance to breathe. And like I said, two trades in a row really just didn't work out for me for whatever reason. So still ended up making profit on both trades, luckily. So I was up about 220, $240. Like I said, I started out at like 2,900. So now after that, I'm probably at about, well, I'm sorry, not 29. I started out at 25.9. After that, I was probably at about 26.1, 26.2, somewhere in that range. So I'm down to this last $300 before I can get funded or have a chance to activate the account to get funded. So I decided to take one more trade. So I take the trade, playing into momentum, made sure to give myself an ample amount of space to work with. And literally, it came down, cool, quick pullback, came down, quick pullback, came down, quick pullback. I decided to enter on this pullback because, like I said, I'm always going to notate and journal my trades as I go. So it took a little bit for me to, regroup, journal my trade and everything. So I decided to get back in. And on that last pullback, what does it do? Instead of pulling back and going back down, it completely reverses, unfortunately. But the worst thing about that trade is that with me wanting to give it room to breathe, because I know that it was, still a potential it can pull back a little bit farther, then, like I said, normally I do 200 to 400, 250 to 500 as far as my trade guidelines. This time, I wanted to give it some room to breathe, so I'm like, all right, let me give it more buffer. On TradingView, somebody can tell me if they know how to fix it, but it doesn't tell you. Maybe if you look over on the side and scroll down to the bottom, but whenever you move your stop loss or move your TP, it doesn't tell you what the dollar amount is. So on the screen, I'm moving it like just a hair up, a little bit higher up. But I guess from a number standpoint and a price standpoint, even though it looks like I'm moving it small, it ended up being a lot more than what I thought. I uh, almost doubled my TP. I think it was at 250. Or, I'm sorry, double my stop loss. I think it was at 250 risk. And when I moved it, it put it closer to almost 400. And like I said, the momentum was going down. So I'm like, let me just give it ample chance to play out and to keep on trailing down. That was my thought process. So a little bit of a YOLO move there with even moving the stop loss, but it is what it is. So at that point, like I said, I was up about 220, took a L for about 400. So now I'm down by 200. I then came back and did another trade, and I ended up pretty much making that money back. I kind of lost track of all my trades today because, to be honest, I did way, 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 way too many. But then I ended up getting that money back and being in the green by just a tiny bit. And then I don't even remember what happened after that. It's just been a blur. But long story short, I go from being, based on what it says on Apex, my highest profit had got up to 2406. So what is that? $93 away from the $1,500 that's needed for a funded evaluation to pass your evaluation. That's how close I was, $93. I had a couple other trades, and kind of the same thing happened. I play into the trend, and just one of those days, real choppy, and I even called it out. And every time I would play into the trend, of course, that would be the one time when it would completely reverse on me, and that's kind of how the whole day has been. So yeah, pretty crappy, to be 100% honest. So that was the first session during the day. And then I kind of got in a little bit of like a don't care-ish attitude, to be honest. And I was like, man, forget it. I don't even care, whatever. So I hopped on during the Asian session, just got finished. And I was like, all right, let me see if I can make something happen here. I got 5 accounts right now, or I had bought a 5-pack from Apex. So I blew one account, had a second account I was working on that was up $200. First trade I made, it started going the direction I needed. Then it came back down, hit my stop loss. No big deal. Due to the ACD method I've been using, I actually did not execute the method correctly. I tried to be, to modify it to my liking, which was completely wrong. But so that first trade didn't work out. But then the second trade I made was valid. Hopped into the trade because based on what the ACD method is, if it wicks up to the C up or C down, or wicks to either one of those, then you play it the opposite direction. So that's what I did, and my trade literally got within $2 of my TP. And once again, I played this 250 to 500, so it literally got to like 490 and 492, like if you want to be exact. This is NQ, by the way, that I'm trading, MNQ. And it didn't hit. So I tried to be patient with it, let it have a little bit of drawdown, this, that, and the third. And before I know it, once again, my stop loss is just a hair inside of where my entry was. It goes all the way back and hits it. So that's kind of how my whole day has gone. Every time when I get close to TP or close to whatever the end goal is, it's been just flipping on me. Like, you can't control these things. Like, it is what it is. Maybe some people might say, oh, you should have trailed your stop loss further, this, that, and the third. But hindsight is always 2020. But with that being said, that one trade pretty much screwed me over due to the intraday trailing drawdown, because the intraday drawdown limit is $1,000. I literally had a trade that got me almost to $500, which was half the drawdown limit, and then went all the way back. So now I lost that 500, so my intraday number is much higher, and that left me with not very much to spare at that point. So to be honest, I was like, whatever. I still got 3 more accounts. I'ma just, once again, I'm like, like I said, I got into kind of a don't care attitude, and was like, whatever, let me just throw this up here, trade with the momentum, set a reasonable stop loss back, and we'll let it keep playing out. And once again, stop loss was hit. So I was like, whatever, it is what it is. So I got one trade actually still going right now that I hopped in with a friend of mine. I don't know if it plays out, then great. I'll be in a good spot on that third account. If it doesn't, then like I said, I'm kind of in just like a bad mood right now, to be 100% honest. But yeah, like with that being said, intraday drawdown, I will probably never ever until I get to a point to where I'm like, okay, I 100% got this down. I will probably never ever do another account with a intraday drawdown because it's just too much potential to screw you, in my opinion, at least at this point in my trading journey. Like I said, just on the one trade I did, simply because it got right close to my TP and came all the way back, automatically I'm $500 in the hole. Just off of that one trade, even though I actually made a little bit of money on it. I really didn't do anything wrong. If it was a cash account, then, no harm, no foul, make $30, call it a day. But whenever you're dealing with prop firms, you got to take the good with the bad, though. So they make the rules, and we just got to play with them. But intraday accounts, it's not something that I'm going to elect to do again. So that's just my personal message on that part. But that's my venting. It was some positives that came out of the day. Early on, I was very conservative in how I played things, and it actually benefited me. My first three trades, like I say, I was conservative in how I played them. Could have probably made a good bit more on them. That would have got me into a better situation, but it is what it is. But like I say, the more trades you do, then the more risk you take on and the more likelihood it is of you having a losing trade. And that's exactly what happened. If you have 3 wins in a day, I don't care if it's small wins, big wins, medium wins, that's a phenomenal day. 3 wins. I had my 3. I haven't even traded. I haven't even made, I don't think, 3 trades most days during this month. And today I had 3 trades that were all winning, which says a lot in my opinion. Which, in my opinion, it means I'm getting better. But like we always talk about, the emotion part is really the hardest thing. But with that being said, like what I kind of was gonna lead into with all of that is, if you're doing intraday trading, this isn't to scare you, but base hits matter. I say that for 2 reasons. For number one, like I said, I was actually up on the day. At 2 separate points, I was up, got in the red, got back up, and then of course I went back into the red. When I was up on those first 3 trades, like $250, that was a base hit that I should have took. When I took that 4th trade, that was me trying to steal second, and I got caught. When I made that 5th trade, got me back in the green, that was me getting another base hit. And after that, of course, I got caught multiple times over and ended up just going downhill from there. But take the base hit, especially if you're doing the intraday thing. If you want to do a 1 to 2, that's perfectly fine. Maybe sell half of your contract once it gets to a 1 to 1 to be on the safe side. Maybe instead of doing a full 1 to 2, maybe keep all of your contracts and do a 1 to like 1.75 or even 1 to 1.5, something like that. But you don't always got to go for a home run. Obviously, strategy is dependent, but you don't always have to get to the 1-2. In my opinion, everybody's thoughts is different. But if you're going to be doing the intraday thing, sometimes it helps to maybe cut it off just a little bit short and take your win for what it is instead of riding it back all the way up. I know we all say, oh, it's gonna, it'll draw down a little bit, it'll come back. It don't always come back to where you expect. That's just the reality of it. as I've dealt with today in multiple trades. Um, Another thing about taking the base hit, uh, whenever you're up for the day, like I said, I had 3 winning trades to start. I should have. I even thought about it. I texted the homie. I was like, man, I should hop off right now. I said it. I called it. I even said, the market is kind of choppy. I said and called out everything verbally, but I did not act on it because I was determined to hit funded today. And I would have hit funded if I didn't get stopped out on those trades because all of them did go on. The two that went back and hit, my stop loss way back by my entry point. They actually did go the direction that I was expecting. But literally, I go from entry to being up like 250, then it goes all the way back, then comes all the way back down. Sometimes it'd be like that. But that would have gave me, the 500 or whatever I needed that would have got me to passing the eval. But it just happened to happen like that. But like I said, I should have just took the base hit when I was up to 200, 250. I should have just said, all right, no problem. 3 trades is enough. We'll get back on this tomorrow and try to finish this up. That should have been my word that I said and actually followed through on. But I didn't, and now we're back at square one. This evening, same deal. I said I was gonna just not even trade. Of course, I got back into it, and second account blown. Which, like I said, that one I'll 100% just say like I really didn't care. I'll be honest. I've been good at journaling probably every trade, but the 1 second this evening, I'm gonna make one long journal entry, just venting my thoughts, kind of like I'm doing now. But I'm not gonna journal every single one of them because I don't take that as being me in a sense. I take that as being 100% emotions. I need to get I don't need to get a play by play on each trade. I just need to get my emotions gathered that I can review later. But anyways, this video is long enough. I ain't got nothing else to say. Like I said, take your base hits. If you are doing intraday drawdown, then be thoughtful of taking those small wins when they are available to you. But as for myself personally, once I go through these last 3 accounts, then if I'm doing another evaluation, I will stick to the end of day because I've seen to have a lot better results, I think, going with that than going with the intraday. But that's all I got. Almost 20-minute long video. I'm out. Peace.